Sometimes the truth doesn't come from evidence. It slips out in a single sentence. That's what happened the day a wife repeated a line only the killer could have known. Idaho Falls, summer of 1984. Morning light on H Street. Trimmed hedges. Kids laughing somewhere down the block. Ordinary calm that makes you think nothing bad can happen here. Her name was Danette Jean Elg, 31, soft brown hair, quiet smile. The kind of person who remembered birthdays and showed up with brownies. Work, church, family, a river walk at dusk. A simple life that hid a growing shadow. Danette lived alone, parents nearby, loyal co-workers, neighbors who had known her for years. One neighbor stood out, Richard Albert Levitt, polite, almost too polite, intense in a way you feel before you can explain. The sort of man who holds eye contact just a beat too long. She told a friend he made her uneasy when he dropped by unannounced. Then she laughed it off because that's what kind people do. He's harmless, just a little strange. On June 18, 1984, Danette ended her shift, carried groceries inside, and hummed as she moved through her kitchen. Her house glowed warm behind curtains that night. By morning, the lights still burned. But Danette was gone. She never missed work, never showed up late. Calls went unanswered. By mid-morning, her boss asked police for a welfare check. Neighbors gathered on the sidewalk, whispering. Her car sat in the drive, doors locked. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Among the faces outside, Richard Levitt, agitated, volunteering details nobody asked for, saying he'd heard noises last night. Offering theories that sounded oddly specific, like a man who knew the shape of the scene without having seen it. Officers forced the door. The first thing that hit was the smell. Metallic, wrong. A quiet house that felt crushed flat by silence. On a table, her glasses, her purse, a half cup of tea gone cold. Then a voice from the bedroom. We found something. What they found shook a small town awake. Danette in her bedroom. Stab wounds. Her throat cut. Blood soaked into mattress, wall, and carpet. Not a robbery, not a break-in. Personal. Rage made visible. Word moved faster than sirens. Idaho Falls tightened behind yellow tape. The kind of town where you used to leave doors unlocked started locking them. Her parents arrived. Her father pushed toward the line. An officer stopped him with a whisper. You don't want to remember her that way. He turned away, shaking like the ground had tilted under his feet. Detectives photographed everything. No forced entry, jewelry on the nightstand, wallet in the purse, a life interrupted mid-routine. Neighbors mentioned muffled sounds in the night. Nobody called it in. Nobody knew. And then the first crack in the calm appeared, not in a lab, but on the sidewalk. A woman said Richard had just told her. They found her with her throat cut. The police had not shared that detail. Not with anyone. Not yet. How did he know? Detectives brought him in. He smiled, deferential, hands in pockets. He said he hadn't seen Danette for several days. Then, as if thinking out loud, he described her bed. The blood. The wounds. You mean where she was stabbed? In the bed? Who told you that, Richard? He shrugged. Maybe he overheard. Maybe a neighbor said it. But no one else knew. He left the interview and didn't keep a low profile. He hovered. Showed up near the house. Visited her parents to check on them. Asked investigators if they had found the knife. Another detail the public didn't know. The case needed more than unease. It needed proof. In 1984, that meant slow work. Blood typing, enzyme markers, fingerprints, fibers. It meant patience. The lab found blood at the scene that wasn't Danette's. Type B. Medical records showed Levitt had type B blood and had sought treatment for a deep cut on his hand right after the murder. The puzzle edges began to lock. A partial print turned up on a dresser near the bed. It matched Levitt. A faint blue synthetic fiber pulled from the sheet matched a jacket he owned. A phone bill showed a late call from Danette's house to a number linked to him. Lines were converging. He denied everything. Helpful neighbor. Concerned citizen. He stuck to the idea that he had not seen her lately. Then a co-worker placed them together at a diner 2 nights before the murder. His timeline cracked. The town split. Some said the police had their man. Others insisted he was just odd. People remembered his calm on the sidewalk, the way he spoke as if the scene belonged to him, the way he kept visiting, asking, narrating. Detectives searched irrigation ditches and canals. A blade turned up near a drainage pipe, stained with blood consistent with Danette's. The handle was chipped. The patterns on her wounds lined up. It wasn't enough alone. But the walls were closing. Another oddity surfaced. Anonymous calls to police after she was found. The caller, using the name Mike Jenkins, offered details the public didn't have, including the manner of death. Investigators tied the calls back to Levitt. He didn't just hover, he tried to steer. Meanwhile, one more thread appeared. A long brown hair on the sheet that didn't match Danette. Not Levitt either. It led to a woman in his orbit. Patricia, quiet, loyal, nervous. The sort of person who does what she's told. She said she hadn't seen him in weeks. Phone records disagreed. A call between them on June 17th, hours before the murder. Did she help? Did she know? Pressure made the truth leak in drops. She said he had shown up the morning after, shaking, cut, asking for a shower and a clean shirt. She said he told her, without saying the words, that Danette had made him angry. She led police to a trash pit where a charred piece of Danette's bedsheet waited under ash. Detectives watched Levitt drive to the canals at night and sit with his headlights off. They saw him burn clothing. They saw the arc of a man who thinks he can tidy up what he ruined. When they brought him back in, the tone changed. Photos laid out: knife, fiber, blood type, phone call, diner sighting, the partial print, the anonymous tips. He said it was all circumstantial. Then why were you at her house that night, Richard? He didn't deny it. He looked away, jaw tight. She shouldn't have screamed, he said, a sentence that says more than evidence ever could. That line lit a fuse. Investigators went back to the canals, dug deeper, and pulled out a plastic bag, a blood-stained shirt with Danette's type, a towel with her hair, a pocket knife. Enough to close the circle. Behind the evidence sat a simple motive: obsession. He mistook her kindness for invitation. He mistook politeness for affection. She began to avoid him. He felt rejected. He went to her house that night. She didn't want to let him in. Words turned hard. Then the blade did the talking. Her diary filled in the echoes of fear. Late night calls with heavy breathing, his car parked outside, a final entry about him stopping by and anger in his face. I hope he doesn't come back tonight. He did. The case went to trial the following year. A room humming with news crews and a town's grief. The state led with the facts. No forced entry. A victim likely knew her killer. A scene soaked in rage. Blood at the scene, not hers. Type B, his. A medical record for a hand wound right after the murder. A partial print in her bedroom. Fibers from his jacket on her sheet. Calls to police under a fake name sharing secrets only the killer would know. The defense reached for doubt. No eyewitness, no modern DNA, small-town gossip, maybe a mystery intruder, maybe the police locked in too fast. But the story did not bend. The jury listened to the technician explain the blood markers. They heard the anonymous calls. They watched Levitt answer simple questions like a man picking his way through broken glass. Who told you her throat was cut? I must have heard it. From whom? I don't remember. The verdict landed the way gravity lands. Guilty of first-degree murder. The judge, weighing cruelty and deliberation, imposed death. Appeals stretched across decades. The conviction stood. On June 12, 2012, the sentence was carried out. He offered no final words. Justice does not feel like triumph. It feels like maintenance, like keeping the world from breaking further. Danette's family never got her back. They learned to live beside the ache. They left her room as it was for a long time. Floral comforter, smooth flat. A notebook on the nightstand, a last line written in neat hand. Tomorrow will be better. I'll start early. Tomorrow never came. Detective Ron Ball retired not long after the sentencing. He kept one photo on his desk, Danette smiling by the river, a reminder to listen when the gentle ones whisper that something is wrong. The town healed in fragments. Summer festivals returned. Children played in front yards again. Each June 18th, candles flickered near the courthouse, not to recount the murder, but to say her name, and to say out loud what women often keep silent. When you feel wrong, speak. Leave. Tell someone who will listen twice before dismissing your fear. In law lectures, State v. Levitt became a case study. How circumstantial facts can stack into a clear picture. How offenders sometimes can't resist narrating their own crimes. How a killer can be undone by his need to control the story. He called. He hovered. He described what no one had told him. He couldn't stop talking, and his words wrote the end. A scholarship came later in Danette's name for students in community safety and social work. The plaque says, in memory of Danette Janelg, a heart gentle enough to care, strong enough to change others. People touch it for luck before exams. Her name lingers where it matters, in choices, in vigilance, in the small courage of saying no. You might still ask why he called the police and dropped those details. Guilt? Pride? Maybe both. People like that want to be the author, even after they destroy the book. But every time he tried to shape the narrative, he left fingerprints on the margins. And there was that first slip on the sidewalk, the sentence that told the truth before the lab did. They found her with her throat cut. A friend heard it. She froze, then carried that line to detectives. Sometimes the quiet person in the crowd becomes the hinge on which a case turns. Before she was a headline, she was a person, music on the radio, postcards she planned to send from the coast, a wish to see the ocean for the first time. She saved for a camper. She dreamed of sunsets she had not yet stood under. She was making ordinary plans. He ended all of them. You don't owe politeness to fear. You don't owe kindness to someone who will not respect your no. Danette's story carries that warning in a way that cannot be forgotten. Hear it. Share it. Keep it alive because it keeps someone else alive. Sometimes the truth doesn't come from evidence. It slips out in a single sentence. And when it does, you have to listen. If this story moved you, tell someone you love why details matter. Share it. And if you're ever standing on your own porch with a feeling you can't explain, trust it. Leave the light on if you need to. Then pick up the phone and make the call that keeps you here.